Okay, so religion will have you thinking that there is some God up in the sky that is handing out trials, that is handing out sicknesses, that's handing out disease and disharmony. All right, that's what religious programming says. But it is time for us to pull that thread and start to stand in our sovereignty and our divinity. All right, it's time for us to step into our power. And that is what we're going to talk about in this video. Before we get started, I am Tamara Tamu. This is another episode of Unleashed Alchemy, where we talk about going against the grain so that you can call heaven on earth. Period. It is just that simple. Okay, so let's dive into this video. So, and you'll see me bend, put my head down because I'm looking at my notes, right? Now, I talked about this in a recent video where I talked about why it can be a challenge for you to step into your sovereignty and your divinity. All right. And so I went into some of the ways that could happen, and it's because of religious programming. So I use the example of the way that religion tells people that they need to pray. Okay. First of all, prayer in itself, we'll talk about that in a minute here, but religion tells people when you pray to this God that is sitting up in the sky watching you, you're supposed to say that you're not worthy. You're supposed to express your unworthiness until you can't speak anymore before you ask this God to do anything for you. All right. And I also talked about how that same sentiment gets fueled into all the, religious songs that you may have sung perhaps in the church that you went to, right? And so that type of programming, that type of thinking says that you must look to something outside of yourself for the supernatural, for miracles to happen. All right? So going back to, let me just say this. So I was taught that before you pray, which is really begging, before you beg to something outside of yourself, you have to make sure that this person outside of you knows that you view yourself as unworthy. All right. So this same message was put into the songs. Okay. So we didn't know this, but we were spelling ourselves over and over and over again with spells of unworthiness. Okay. There goes my earring. With spells of unworthiness, because really that's what a song is. That's, first of all, that's what words are. All right. Your words are spells. And when you put a frequency, when you attach a frequency, a sound to it, it becomes even more potent. All right. So imagine hearing that day after day, week after week. All right. That is making, even when you leave the church building, even when you decide, you know what, this religion, this is not, it's time for me to expand. This is not working for me anymore. And you surrender to your spiritual Odyssey, all right, that says for you to go within. There are wires of that programming that can still play out in your life. And this unworthiness, this looking outside of yourself to someone up in the sky to do something for you, that is one of those wirings that, or the thread that we have to pull and do away with. So when you understand who you are, when you get on your spiritual odyssey, when you embrace your spiritual odyssey through the lens of source, not through the lens of religious programming, but through the lens of power, through the lens of infinite intelligence, you know that you're no longer praying, because praying to me is equivalent of begging and asking. No, you are now commanding. All right. You no longer pray to a God or for a God to take something away from you or to remove something out of your life. Instead, You step into your power and your magic to command it to lead, to command your external circumstances to conform to what you say. So that goes back to the example that I used at the top of this video about how God does not give disease. We can command. We do not have to pray. We can. Do you know it's not natural for us to be ill? It's not natural for us to be sick. Our cells are self-healing. So we can command for our cells to remember their sovereign job. We can command that. And I know this is different, but this is what programming does. It can be such a challenge for us to switch our lens. But even even beyond belief, even if we are just open to saying, you know what? I'm not even sure what this means. I'm not even sure if I can look in the mirror and see myself that powerful, but I'm willing to give this a try. Guess what? Just that in itself, sometimes that's all you need. So you don't have to believe it. You just have to be willing to say, okay, I am willing to accept that is a possibility for my life, that I can stand that powerful in my I am power to see the supernatural occur in my life. So let's talk about real quick the power of your energetic being. What is your energetic being? This is not just mass here, and I've said this before on this video. It's not just mass. You are an energetic cosmic being. So what power does your energetic container hold to shift realities? And this list this is just a few here, okay? So you have the power to shift realities. You have the power to bring the unseen into the seen. You have the power to speak, and then you see what you speak. You have the power to awaken your DNA. Do you know that, we have our DNA, we have lineage, the DNA from our, bloodline that flows through our body. But that's not just it. There's a spiritual science there that we came here to express. There is a magic in our DNA that we came here to express. And it's waiting for you to speak to it, to awaken it. We have the power as energetic beings to remind ourselves what their divine job is. We have the power to awaken elevated energies that we have access to. Because all that you came here to accomplish contains elements that you cannot see with your physical eye. Yes. Perhaps for some of you watching this, you already know that. Maybe there's some of you watching this that are like, what? This is really deep. Yes, it's deep, but at the same time, it isn't. Okay, so if you, and I didn't say this at the top of the video, if you are wanting more one-on-one support on your spiritual odyssey, and you want to step into your power as an energetic cosmic being, there is more beyond religious programming and otherwise. There is more for you to experience. And perhaps you don't know where to start, or maybe you do have some idea where to start, but you just want support. You want more one-on-one support to experience spiritual ecstasy and enchantments in your life, in every single part of your life. Then book a call with me, a complimentary call with me, so that we can talk about how I can support you more. The link to do that is in the description box of this video. I also have other spiritual resources for you that will be very valuable to you and will help you and will also support you on your Odyssey in that way. Okay. So I wanted to share this brief video with you. Okay. If you have any questions for me, leave them in the comments. If you have other, pressing questions about your spirituality, the first thing I'm going to tell you to do. Now, one thing I've always done is I've always said, okay, leave your questions or anything pressing that you have about your spiritual odyssey, leave them in the comments. But before you do that, I'm going to ask you, have you gone within first? Have you spent time in meditation? Have you gone through a consciousness writing? Have you gone through that yet? I'm going to always encourage you, invite you, inspire you beyond inspiration to go within first. Check your own spirit, check your soul first. Ask your soul, what does it want at this moment before reaching outside of yourself? Okay? So, with that being said, until next time, cheers.